Hi, Gary Cruz with AmazeStudios.com here, and if you want to learn more about this Teradek wave, then watch this video. Hi, Gary Cruz with AmazeStudios.com here, and if you're new to my channel, I cover live streaming technology. And today I'll be covering the Teradek wave. So if you're not familiar with the Teradek wave is a live streaming encoder, but it also acts as a monitor and also does network bonding all out of the box. It also records straight to SD card. So I've been using this for about a month now, and I feel pretty comfortable in discussing all the features. So if you're interested in seeing a comprehensive review, this is probably going to be a long video. Check out the chapter links below to skip to the portion that you're most interested in. One of the biggest benefits and use cases of the Teradek wave is just to hook up to an existing HDMI camera, see a really bright screen, and also to stream very quickly and easily to your favorite streaming platform. It could be YouTube, it could be Facebook, an RTMP stream, and Teradek's own Sharelink service, which I'll talk about in a bit. First, let's talk about some of the use cases. I've used this at a performance, and I had this hooked up to my Sony PXW Z90 camera, and that Sony camera has built-in live streaming via RTMP, and it does that over Wi-Fi. However, the biggest challenge in using the built-in streaming of a camera is that it's a little clunky to use. On the Teradek website, you can learn more about the Teradek wave, but of course you can learn more by watching my video. If we scroll down here, we can see that it has a 7-inch screen with a 1080p monitor/encoder. It has smart event creation with Flow OS. The benefit of the Flow OS is that it's not Android based. It is their own operating system purposely built for live streaming. You can do network bonding from multiple connections. I'll show how that works. And multiple destination streaming, as you can see, with Facebook, YouTube, RTMP, and Vimeo, and then hot swapping of power because it has Sony NPF battery plate on the back. If you think about it, it's very similar to the Small HD ND 7-inch touchscreen monitor. This is an on-camera monitor that is made by Small HD, and for those who don't know, Teradek and Small HD are part of the same company. And for this monitor by itself, it's $1,199. It has a same 7-inch size screen, battery plate. It doesn't have the SDI, and it doesn't have the extra features that you would use for camera monitoring like zebras and focus peaking, but it does have the same amount of brightness, which is the 1000 nits. So if we go back to the Teradek wave, if we scroll down and we can look at some of the details about this, we've got the 7-inch for monitoring. It's 1080p 60 frames per second resolution for encoding, and I've upgraded the firmware a couple times, and it's very stable. I've run this on one large NPF battery. One of these batteries, I'll put a link in the description below. This is a 7800 milliamp 57.7 watt hour battery, and this thing has gone all the way up to 4 hours non-stop. I was really impressed. It looks like at about 4 hours and 20 minutes, somewhere around then, I wasn't really looking, I lost connection, and the battery's at 1%. So not bad for just one battery. You can swap it out. I connected a second battery, and now you can see that's 100%, and it reconnected. So I guess the voltage wasn't enough to maintain the stream. And if we take a look at here, it is at 4 hours and 25 minutes. As you can see, it has a daylight viewable monitor. It handles H.264 encoding, RTMP streaming, and recording all on this 7-inch screen. And it's 1000 nits, so it's really bright for any time, especially during the day. Now let's go over some of the details of what the interface looks like, and I'm going to switch over to my other camera here. I currently have this on top of a Sony a7S III rig. I'll go over this rig in detail later. It's really not important for this. As you've seen in my previous video, I had this on an arm, and the benefit of having a rig is it's pretty solid and it's not going anywhere, versus what I had before where I had this hanging off a tripod. You know, that's going to work in a pinch, but if you want more stability, put it on top of a rig and you have a much more stable platform. All right, so let's go ahead and get this so we can see the display at the same time. Please ignore this green light. This is actually my tally light that I'm testing out for my ATEM Studio. I'm testing how long it lasts on this smaller battery. It's been going for more than about 2 hours now, and it still hasn't drained the battery a bit. This is at the lowest brightness so far, and it's hard to see the screen because it's a little bit washed out. On the back, you can see that it has this Sony NPF plates. I found that the hot swapping doesn't work only because of the limitation of this connection to my DTAP. If I remove this, it actually powers off the camera. But if you use the NPF batteries, it's hot swaps fine. But I run at a low profile with this. So if we switch to the top, so you can see that's a very low profile battery versus having something like this hanging off the back, which adds to the weight and imbalance of my rig. So I use this Power Rig DTAP to NPF adapter for better usage. All right, let's go over the interface. So on the top left, we have a menu bar. We've got events, event configuration, stream quality, display brightness. And as you can see, it's down to its lowest. But if I go ahead and make this super bright, everything's going to get washed out. So let's go ahead and set that display to the lowest setting here. If we start off with events, I have my event here. If you want to add a new event, you click on the plus sign. You can name your event. It's got this on-screen keyboard. I tried hooking up a separate keyboard. It didn't work. The reason why you want to do this is that you want to set this up in advance prior to your event. Now, one of the things I wish that Teradek would do is have the capability of using some sort of custom thumbnail or maybe even a logo of an event that you'd want to use. These are kind of generic events here. So let's say if you have a sporting event, let's say I'm going to do karate, which I'll never do. That's one thing that you can use. So let's go ahead and go to the next screen here. It's going to create a new event. And the biggest benefit of this is that you don't need a computer. However, if you use a computer or the app, which I'll show later on, it's much easier. So this one says accounts, then it says channels, and then it says quick stream. I've already connected my YouTube channel here, so if I wanted to add another account, if I click on this, add account, you see YouTube, Facebook, Vidiu, Sharelink, which it takes advantage of the bonding, and then Wowza. If you go to channels, this is where I set up my RTMP. So if I click on add a channel, I can set up an RTMP channel on this, and then I can do a quick stream where I can quick stream to a single event where RTMP settings won't be used again. But I have one key that I use for my YouTube stream that I have tied to this Teradek. Now that we've entered the event, you'll see the output of the video camera. And from here, we can go ahead and start to stream. But let's go ahead and double check my event configuration and stream destination. Right now I have Amaze YouTube RTMP and I have auto reconnect. For most of my live streams, I use RTMP because of the capability of reconnecting the stream in case something happens. So for example, if you use the built-in connection to YouTube, it might automatically end your stream. So on my settings on YouTube, let's just take a look at that real quick. On YouTube, when I schedule a stream, let's go ahead and create a new stream here and do a test. And I'll go ahead and, you can add a thumbnail, go through all your basic setup for a YouTube stream. Go through these. So I'll have live chat replay. And I'll go ahead and set this to unlisted. And I'll go ahead and schedule that for 9:20, which is coming right up. If you take a look at these settings, I have enable auto start turned off. I'd like to, if I'm not using the computer, I'll go ahead and turn that on. The thing that I have turned off is enable auto stop, because as soon as maybe it stops receiving a stream, it's going to assume that your stream has ended. And I've had places where if I wasn't using network bonding and there was a hiccup in the network connectivity, it ended the stream and I couldn't reconnect to it because I wasn't using RTMP. So I use a one stream key and I manage my stream keys accordingly. You can see I have just one here, so I'm not confusing myself with multiple stream keys. But if you're very comfortable with using multiple stream keys, then do that. Okay, so right now I have no data. If we go back over to the Teradek Wave, so there's an SD card slot on top. I'm going to try this 32 gig card and plop this in here. This is a 32 gig class 10. And let's go ahead and select a drive. We've got the SD. And this is an inexpensive drive. And the thing that you want to do is add a recording name before you go next. And let's go ahead and call this test. And so that's ready. And the format, I like using MP4. And let's go ahead and enable auto record. And go ahead and close this out. Okay, so now you can see that recording is ready. All right, so it's ready to stream. And let's go ahead and click on stream. And there you can see that it's automatic recording and it is now live. So if we switch over to the desktop here and take a look at YouTube. Now if I switch on to ultra low latency, which it supports, now that my video is coming in, that's my PTZ camera. We can look at the stream health. And you can see that the stream is healthy. The Wave also has a web interface. And these are where you can like copy and paste the RTMP versus typing it on the screen itself. That makes it a lot easier. So if we go to system over here or go to streaming and you add a channel, this is where you can put you can copy and paste the information from YouTube. So for example, if I go to the stream settings here and I copy this and go back over to the URL, I can paste that right in. I can also paste a stream key as well. That makes it really easy to configure your RTMP via the web browser versus on the screen of the device. Again, you don't need a computer to do that. On the system here, you can check your firmware. We've got version 2.4.202.20111, and it's up to date. And if we scroll down here, you can put a password for the device itself and also get an updated time from a time server, which is pulled at ntp.org, which is pretty standard. And information about the Wave. I can do a factory reset, log out, go over any diagnostics, or reboot the device from this web interface. If we go to network, right now I'm connected to my Wi-Fi, and this is a good opportunity to try out the modem. So let's go ahead and plug in a modem and see what that looks like. So if I click back over to the top view, on the bottom here I have my Verizon modem. Let's go ahead and turn this on. And I'll go ahead and plug in the USB of the bottom has a USB-C, and the USB-A will then plug into this spare USB port. Now on the Jetpack, which is also washed out here, the option here is to access internet via USB and Wi-Fi. Let's go ahead and select that. The other one is charging or charge the connected devices. So we're not going to charge this. We're going to go ahead and select the internet connectivity. So click on OK. When I add Sharelink, there's a little code that we have to add here. So let's go over to the desktop and add that code. And then I can choose which region. I'm here in US West, North California, and complete an ad. On the Teradek, I now see Gary Cruz here, so let's go ahead and click on this destination, which is Sharelink. I'm going to double check my settings. I have the resolution set to auto. The bit rate selection is at 6 megabits per second. I have adaptive bit rate turned on. Frame rate is auto, keyframe every 1 second. And this is deinterlacing method, which I don't have to worry about because I'm using progressive. This is the recording settings we saw earlier. And then the audio settings, we've got the audio coming in via HDMI, but there's also on the bottom here, there's a microphone input and also a headphone jack. In order for me to make sure that the audio is in sync, I always route the audio through the camera. And so HDMI is appropriate here. Let's go back to general and then close this out. Okay, so now if we take a look at the top left, we've got the wireless and then the modem. The wireless is taking the majority of it, and then there's modem. I can also connect to my phone, but I'll have to switch this over to access point mode, so I'm not going to do that right now. Let's go ahead and click on stream. It says not ready. Let's see. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Oh, the reason why it's not ready is if we take a look at this, we have to add a channel. So let's go ahead and add my RTMP. I set this up earlier. Okay, so now it's green. If you want to go ahead and add a channel, you go to channels, and this is where you add a new channel where you can select Facebook, Vimeo, Legacy Livestream, YouTube, Twitch, IBM video streaming, Wowza, and RTMP. And that's where I've done that before. Under Facebook settings, this is where you can link your account. And you can do, the beauty of Sharelink is that you send one stream to this service and then it splits it out accordingly, versus on the device, if you're sending this to multiple services, you have to have a higher bandwidth. So again, that's one benefit of network bonding. I'm getting about 60 frames per second. The video bit rate is at 6 megabits per second, and the audio bit rate's at 128, all what I've selected earlier. And so if I go ahead and click on go live, it also controls it. So now I can see that we're live on the recording and we're also live on the RTMP. So we've got ultra low latency enabled. And so for example, if I just move my hand in front of the camera here, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1000. Is it going? About 5 seconds. All right, on the web interface, we can see that we're using Wi-Fi and modem. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the phone. So let's switch over to my phone. And I've got the Teradek app on here. So let's go ahead and open up the Wave. And let's refresh this. And you got to be on the same Wi-Fi or the network. I can see the Wave device here. So let's go ahead and log into that and take a look at the stats. And so here's where you can see where the Wi-Fi is doing most of the transmission. You can see that it's bonding both of them, but not a lot of data is coming through. Oh, I get the total of 6 megabits per second. Okay, and I've got 2 connections. If we go back over here on the home page, we can see the destination is the Teradek Sharelink and some of the same information. And if I click on link iOS device, it's going to give me an error because I have to set the Teradek Wave over to access point mode. And so these are the simple settings right now. That's about it from here. Usually I can see the preview of the screen from the Teradek Wave, but I don't see that right now. Maybe it's because I'm streaming. On the top here, I can see my battery power. I've got 100%. This FX Lion Nano 2, 98 watt hour battery. So this is probably going to last at least 4 hours. I know that these NPF batteries last 4 hours by itself, so this bigger battery is probably going to last a lot longer. All right, so if we look at the bonding, the modem 2 is not doing much in terms of the upload speed. Maybe it's because I'm already over 14 gigs on that. If I go to my event, I can see the information about my event, that my video input is 1920 by 1080 at 60 frames per second, auto resolution. The video bit rate's at 6 megabits per second. And the audio bit rate is at 128 kilobits per second. I've got audio here where I can adjust the master audio and the headphone output. And the headphone output's really nice when you're on the field because you can eject the audio, the recording, and then that we're currently live. Let's go over the system settings. Oh, since we're streaming, let me go ahead and end my stream here. And I'm sure, where's the yes button? Here we go. Are you sure you want to stop your live stream? Let's go ahead and click on confirm. And let's stop the recording. Oops, stop the recording. There we go. Now if I go to system settings, I can see additional information that I saw on the web app, but it's all on this 7-inch screen. So if we click on wireless, we can switch from client mode to access point or to disabled. If we set access point, this is where we can connect the phone. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's click on access point. And at this point, this is where I have to switch my phone over to this. And you can see where it has security and it says none. You're going to want to put that because you don't want people randomly accessing this. So let's go ahead and just put a password. On my phone, let's go ahead and switch to the access point here. So if we click on the wave, okay, now that we're connected to the wave, if we switch back over to this and we do a refresh, by swiping down, you can see that the network now says wave. And I've got a different IP address. Now you can see the preview screen, which is pretty nice. Let's check the latency here. Not too bad. And if I click on link iOS device, now my phone is going to act as a hotspot on this. And the beauty of this is that it's not using hotspot data. It's actually using app data since it's doing it through the app itself. Now, if we take a look at bonding, I have, it says modem 2, but it should also say my phone. Let's go ahead and link iOS device. There we go. So you can see mobile 1 on there. Now, if I have another phone that has internet data, here's my son's phone. And I need to go ahead and connect to the wave. So I'll switch from the Wi-Fi network. Let's go ahead and connect to the wave. And in order to use this as an internet device as well, let's go ahead and click link iOS device. Now you'll see that there is mobile 2 and it's splitting the data between both phones. So if we take a look at both phones here, we've got both. And let's go ahead and do one more thing. I've got a Ethernet cable. I'll plug this on the bottom here and give it a second. And now you see there's a wire connection. And once it gets connected, it's splitting the network between the three. Looks like modem 2 is probably out of data, so it's not really, it's being throttled. And that's okay because we've got 3 other networks that are splitting up to 6 kilobits per second. I'm not connected to the wave, so I'm not going to see information about that. But if I go over to the Sharelink TV, I can see that the stream is coming through live. I've got a strong 6 megabits and also up to 8 megabits per second from this stream. Let's see if I see any additional information here. And so if I click on the wave itself, I can see that I've got cell 1 and cell 2, and I've got wired, and it's splitting that accordingly. So let's say we lose this device and we'll unlink this. And now that cell 1 has disappeared, but let's go ahead and relink that. And then on this other phone, let's go ahead and connect this one. In order for you to take advantage of network bonding, you have to use the Sharelink.TV service. It does come at a cost, And if you go to your account information or the Sharelink.tv website, you can go into your subscription and add an appropriate subscription. Just go to the Sharelink.tv website, which is by Teradek, to find out more information. My current plan right now is on demand, so I'm paying a certain price per gigabyte. I think it's just based on data. I'm not sure if it's per gigabyte. But while you're testing, it doesn't go, it's not using any of your data until you actually go live with the stream. So if I go to YouTube Studio here and refresh this, if I click on the Go Live button, that's when it starts counting against my data. All right, so the question is, what's the use of this when it's only one camera? Because right now there's only one HDMI and it's not a switcher. Again, the advantage here is to simplify the setup, but I figured out how to work around that. So let's take this rig and let's put this on my tripod so I can add some additional devices to this. So I'm going to go ahead and balance this onto my tripod. And you can see it's a little back heavy if I let go of this. And I'll loosen up my tripod plate and scoot this forward a bit until I can balance this out. Adjust the counterbalance. I've got this on a Sackler FSB8. And the beauty of this is that it's a very stable tripod, which of course you want that out of a tripod, and a nice fluid head. And the other thing that I've learned is that if you can keep everything self-contained on the top part using a rig, you don't have any things hanging off your tripod. This reduces any vibrations when you're interacting with the device. So with that said, speaking of interacting with the device, let's go ahead and get this piece connected. I have a Roland VO2 HD. This is the first version. Check out my link below. I have a separate review for this. And let's go ahead and get this connected to my rig. So I've got a NATO plate on this, and let's screw that in right over here. Okay, so now it's nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. You can see now it's unbalanced. So let's go ahead and rebalance this and push this forward a bit. Oh man, this screen is really nice and clear. It's hard to see this. It's hard to see this on video, but trust me, it's on their top end tier of like their other small HD monitors. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output from the camera and put that into input 1 on this device. Input 2 is I've got this Teradek Spark 4K. I'm going to do a separate review in this. This thing is awesome as well. It's basically wireless HDMI over 500 feet real time with 0 latency. So let's get that connected onto this. I plugged in my USB-C to USB-C to the FX Lion. I'm going to go ahead and get that powered on. And let's zoom out a bit. Ooh, too much. Oh, and let's go ahead and get this HDMI out to the HDMI in. I have a DTAP to DC in. However, the center is negative, which is opposite of what my DTAP is. So I'll just use the power and powers this on. The transmission is going to come from this video camera wirelessly, which is my Sony PXW Z90. Let's go ahead and get this plugged in here. Have this connected to a DJI Ronin RSC2. Here's the transmitter. Let's go ahead and unplug that. We don't need that anymore. And we'll plug in the USB-A for the HDMI splitter. And the reason why we need an HDMI splitter for this is so that I can use the Raven Eye. Now this actually has its own battery, but it lasts only 90 minutes. And usually my events are longer than 90 minutes. So let's go ahead and get that turned on and turn this on. And let's go ahead and turn on the Raven Eye and the gimbal. On my iOS device, I have Raven Eye connected. I have Raven Eye from DJI to wirelessly control this camera. So if we go ahead and go to enable Force Mobile, so wherever I'm pointing this phone, this thing will look too. So, hey. Hi camera, how are you doing? Yeah? Great. So do you like working for me being a video camera? Great, thanks. Say hi to the camera over there. I'm going to have to do a separate review on this, but this is a really nice way to use wireless PTZ. Now I've got a PTZ controller for the Canon camera that I'm working with here. The beauty of this is that I can go ahead and roam around. Let's get this unlocked. I can roam around and have wireless video up to 500 feet. And I've used this successfully at a couple events. So now with this solution, I can have a simple switcher here. I can switch between these two videos. So this camera, there's a little bit delay. I think the delay is introduced with this. So as you add more devices in the chain, there's going to be a little bit more latency. Okay, so if I click on camera 1, switches to this camera. If I switch to camera 2, it's the wireless camera using the Teradek Spark 4K. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this Ethernet cable since we don't need it. So in conclusion, I would highly recommend this if you want a simplified streaming setup to take advantage of network bonding. Now I have a Teradek Vidiu X that I've been using for my other rig. I'll go into what the differences are in that review compared to the Teradek Wave. The Teradek Wave, the biggest advantage here is that you've got a really nice, basically like a small HD monitor here to compose your videos. It doesn't have focus peaking or zebra, but the fact that it also has a network bonding out of the box is a big advantage. Now, the only disadvantage or con would be not having more than one HDMI input. Again, it's really meant to get one of your cameras on the go. The workaround would be this simple roll-in switcher, which has A and B. And you can take advantage of wireless on your second camera by using a Teradek Spark 4K. If you look at the Teradek website, you can see that the Teradek Wave sells for $11.90. Again, if you compare that to just a standard monitor from Small HD with the same brightness and resolution for $11.99, basically $9 more for just the monitor. And you get the added advantage of network bonding, which takes advantage of multiple connections in areas where you might have low internet speeds. I also like that it has an SD card to record a backup of your stream, so if the stream does ever go bad or the quality is not as high due to the limitations of your streaming platform, you can always provide a backup copy via the SD card to your clients. And usually that's a higher quality because it's not as compressed as you would see on a YouTube, for example. This concludes the review of the Teradek Wave. If you found this helpful or even somewhat interesting and you lasted this far, thank you. And consider subscribing if you want to learn more about streaming technologies and tips from someone who does this out in the field. That's why I rarely update, but when I do it on things that I use for my paid clients.